muted, but she said she's going to turn it on.
Hello?
Hello?
Where do you do that?
Can you hear me?
Hello. Hello.
What about me? Can y'all hear me?
No, you're not constant. Oh, I can hear
Is that good? Are we sure it's on?
you. Yes.
Okay. Okay, so this is good. I don't need to scream, right? Okay.
That's good. All right. Do you guys need anything at all? No? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and introduce you then, and we can get going. All right. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Leah Frieden, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to the Fayetteville Public Library, and welcome to those watching through live stream as well. This event is part of the 2025 True Lit Literary Festival. True Lit is in collaboration with the Fayetteville Public Library, the Fayetteville Public Schools, Fayetteville Public Education Foundation, and the University of Arkansas Program in Creative Writing and Translation. Before you leave today, please take a moment to fill out the evaluations we've left for you. These help us to plan for future programs. And speaking of future programs, I hope you'll join us tomorrow to hear author James McWilliams discuss his book, The Life and Poetry of Frank Sanford. It's in this room at 2 o'clock. I'm so overjoyed to have these amazing panelists here today. Let me introduce you to them. E.A. Allen is a retired CIA intelligence officer who has also taught history at several colleges and universities. He writes the Montclair Mysteries for adults and has recently embarked on a series of mystery adventures for young readers. Percy St. John and the Chronicle of Secrets is currently available in both first and illustrated editions, and the second in the series, The Midnight Boy, will be published next February. Janie Clark, writing cozy mysteries as Jane Elsie, is a retired journalist with a passion for storytelling. Her first mystery series, the Cardboard Cottage Mystery Series, is based in Arkansas and centers around four best friends and the games they play to win, along with the hunt for whodunit. The latest book in the series, Ouija and Haints in Silent City, received honors at the 2025 San Francisco Book Festival. Her second mystery series, starring a young foodie surrounded by unexpected magic, launches later this year. Cerinthia McLennan, who also goes by Ren, is the creative force behind Rendition Coffee and Cocktails. She has over 12 years of barista experience and half of that time in cocktails. Ren published Dirty Barista, a cocktail collection, in 2022, a collection of cocktails inspired by classic cocktails, and the album Dirty Computer by Janelle Monáe. She published her debut novel, Sweet, in 2024, about a bartender whose carefully constructed normalcy is threatened when she becomes the focus of a private investigator. It is the first in a trilogy. And finally, our moderator, Kay Pritchett. Born and raised in Greenville, Mississippi, Kay earned her PhD in Spanish literature from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and taught at the University of Arkansas until her retirement in 2016. As a mystery writer, she creates the Mosley Fry mystery series, featuring amateur sleuth Mosey Fry and police chief Gus Oliveira in stories that transport readers into thrilling whodunits with a delightful twist. Think Verandas and Paddle Boats. Her three short novels, anthologized as Murder in High Cotton in 2022, draw inspiration from her childhood memories of the Mississippi Delta. Her full-length novels of similar ilk include The Summer House at Lakespur, The Incident at Sunnybanks, The House with a Secret Cellar, and Murder at Red Oaks. Please join me in welcoming these wonderful authors.
Okay, thank you so much for coming today. I have some questions for the panelists, but I hope you also have some questions. I'm sure your questions are much better than mine. When I wrote these questions and sent them to the panelists, it suddenly occurred to me that I had written these questions from the point of view of a mystery writer. So mystery writers tend to be very interested in asking other mystery writers questions like, are you a planner or are you a intuitive? Intuitive is the nice word they used to call this fly by the seat of your pants. I'm glad they stopped using that. Now it's intuitive. So either you're a planner or you're intuitive. Are questions like, how do you manage all those characters? How do you create characters that can be distinguished when you've got four people engaged in a conversation? So I hope that you will be thinking of some questions from the point of view of readers, although I definitely see some writers here in the audience, and you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm first going to ask each of them 3 questions of sort of a general nature, and then I have 3 questions that I will ask. There's only one of these for each one. Actually, this was Jane Elsie's idea, and I think it was a very good one. And then if we have time, I have a few more questions, but we're definitely going to leave time for a Q&A. So the first question, and this is sort of obvious because, you know, it seems that mystery writers always tend to write in series. Have you noticed that? And sometimes the series are very long. I did learn something very interesting about writing in a series in this day and time from a group that I belong to called Citrus Crime Writers. It seems that these days the length of the series is often controlled by the publisher. And at any point, they can just cut the writer off and say, no more of that. And so I recently heard from one person whose series that he thought was really good got cut off after just 2 novels. So he came up with another series. There was another person there who is at number 15 in her mystery series. She started one called the Bad Hair Day series. And I guess that appealed to a lot of people who have bad hair or whatever. But anyway, after 15, I guess she's sort of tired of that and she started another series. So that's my question then. Tell us about your series. And I'll start with E.A. Allen.
I write 2 series. The first that I started was the Montclair Mysteries. Follows the exploits of a French detective of the Edwardian era who is different, I think, although I couldn't help modeling him just a little bit on established detectives that I had read my whole life. Montclair is a person who is, he's a reformed alcoholic who has an anger management problem, basically. He's not a seeker after justice. He is the angel of retribution, at least in his own thinking. And he's smart enough, however, to always operate within the fabric of French law, and he always operates as an official of the French court system, fellow that the French call an investigating magistrate, a prosecutor, basically. Montclair is out for retribution, and mainly he sees himself as the representative of the victim. And he has an unrelenting and totally successful way of getting it, I must say. He's never failed. The second series that I've written Montclair Mysteries both as short stories and as novels. There are several in the novels. The most recent is a novel called His Kindred Spirit. The series of short stories appear entirely as Kindle books, Kindle shorts, and they are what I call weekend mysteries. They're what J.D. Salinger called long shorts. They're about 10,000 words or so. But I like to write both forms in the series, and I write entirely in the short mysteries for Kindle because, quite frankly, there's no market for them. If you're a mystery writer or you're a fledgling mystery writer, you should know there's no market for mystery short stories anymore. They've all gone. So you're on your own, and the only vehicle I think really that's worthwhile is Kindle, and it does a pretty darn good job. You'll find about 20 of my Montclair mysteries in that vehicle. The second series that I'm writing, and I'm writing it now, is about Percy St. John, an expert safecracker. He happens to be about 13 years old. He appeared first in one of my Montclair mysteries. Montclair ran into a safe that he couldn't open, and he had to call on someone recommended by the French intelligence service. And what showed up surprised the hell out of him, a 13-year-old boy with an attitude. Percy appeared in 2 more of my short Montclair mysteries before I decided he was ready for the big time. So I decided to write a Percy St. John mystery, and now I can't help myself. It's taking on a life of its own. Thank you.
Okay, great. Jane Elsey.
Hi, thank you all for coming. Big crowds. I write cozy mystery, which is described as a genre mystery. Whodunit, no sex, no cursing, no gore, which is a challenge because you really want to say something sometimes. But the murders always happen off camera, so to speak, and the person is an amateur sleuth and tries to, solve it through deductive reasoning. But they can't test DNA and fingerprints and stuff like that. It's puzzling it out. It's mostly about human nature and studying other people and what are they doing and how are they doing and that kind of thing. So my first series is called the Cardboard Cottage Mystery Series. The protagonist, there are 4 main characters in this book, 4 best friends. They're very unlikely best friends. But one of them owns a game store in a place called Bluff Springs, or set in Arkansas, Bluff Springs, which is Eureka Springs, spelled with a BS. And one of them owns a game store, and so all the titles in the books have a game in the title. So this happens to be the first one, and the setup is one of the 4 players, she's turning 50. She wants to go on a 50th birthday cruise. She wants her husband to pay for all 4 of them to go a bougie cruise. He refuses. He's now dead, and so it's set up. So it's set up the whole premise that the husband always dies in my books because he's a crappy husband. So we're okay there. But in the real world, the true crime world, it's usually the husband who commits the crime. As it goes the other way around. So I just sort of did a little twist on that one. But that's the setup. And book 5 just released in May. It's called Ouija and Haints in the Silent City. Again, another game, Ouija. And this is actually a cold case from 1924. So they are doing they're doing a fundraiser for their museum in the graveyard, which is the Silent City. And something falls into Amy's lap. It's a necklace, which I was going to wear, and then I walked out the door without it, which is takes her to, leads her to a crime that occurred in 1924 and was not solved. And so this was really a challenge because, A, you're working backwards in another time zone, and another time period and zone. But it was so fascinating to do the research. Now, as a journalist, I love to research. That's where I go first. So I had to learn about the 1920s, and we don't know much about the 1920s other than what we learned in The Great Gatsby, So it was really fun going back to what they did not have. They did not have buses, so you could not throw somebody under the bus because they didn't have one, And so it was really fascinating to focus in on women because my books are about women, as David found out. Women's rights in 1924, and it was just pretty eye-opening. That was just 100 years ago, and we had just won the enfranchisement to be able to vote. Anyway, so that's the book 6 is in the works. It's called I Spy a Dead Guy. And every other book, we take a bucket list trip. We've been to the Galapagos Islands. We've been to Ireland. Book 6, we're going to Albuquerque to the Balloon Fiesta in New Mexico. And I guess I'm going to drop a husband out of the gondola. I don't really know. I figured out how I'm going to do that. But I just want to tell you this little side note. I do a newsletter, and I would invite you to join me. But I did a little quiz. If you can name the game in book 6, you can enter to win in a whole swag package, when it's published. I have had 50 guesses, and not a single person has said, I spy. I spy a dead guy. No one has guessed I spy. It just cracks me up. It's like, okay, well, I guess I don't have to work so hard to hide all these clues now. I don't know. Anyway, so that's book 5. Book 6 will be out late 2026 because I am really slow. And I'm starting a new mystery series, as Leah said. It's really sort of aimed at my daughter, who is 29. The protagonist is 29. She is a wannabe chef. It's called a snooty foodie mystery with a pinch of magic. And the snooty foodie is 29, and she is a wannabe chef. She's got the culinary training. And every time she goes in the kitchen and turns on any source of heat, it catches fire. And she has discovered that she's been hexed. And at the same time that she's been hexed, 3 magical figures, I don't know, call them figure beings, I don't know what they are, magic helpers, show up in her food. Aunt Clara, Aunt Erlene, and Uncle Floyd. And if you are a fan of the Bewitched series, you know exactly who I'm talking about. And they show up at her food, and they help her get over her struggles of catching everything on fire. Obviously, she can't be a chef with catching everything on fire. Right now, she's trying to learn how to eat cold foods because she can't cook. Anyway, I'm having a delightful time, and one of the things, I'm a very logical thinker when I write, but I'm also very playful and creative. And what's so funny, when you're writing magic, you just write the magic. It's like, oh, I don't want that fire to be red. It doesn't have to be red. It can be any color you want it to be. And so I really am having a good time going, well, that room doesn't have to be round. That room doesn't have to be square. It's just really kind of fun to do that. And I'm hoping it's going to lead to one of my true loves, and that is to write magic realism, which I absolutely love to read, but it is a big literary feat. So I am not quite ready for that, but I've got the book in my head for how to do that. And that'll be out, the first book is called The Bun Also Rises, and that will be out in December, I think, is when the plan is, and if I can get there. And then the second book will follow very quickly, and it's called The Rise and Fall of Fu Manchu. And so they're very tongue-in-cheek, classic literature kind of a thing about a poor little wannabe chef who catches everything on fire. Anyway, so thank you all for being here. Enjoy it.
Okay. So now, Cerinthia.
Hello, I'm Cerinthia. And my first book, like was mentioned, it was a cocktail recipe book, but my second book is a short novel. It's only 143 pages, really fast. It took me longer to write than I thought it would, but it's called Sweet, and it is about a bartender in Arkansas, also based in Arkansas, and she is a bit of a vigilante, kind of taking some justice into her own hands, and this book does have sex, cussing, and gore. So it's not a cozy, but you can read it cozily. But she is being followed by a private detective who's on to one of her victims. He thinks that she killed him. And he has decided that the best way to know if she's done it is to get to know her and talk to her to get it out of her. But as he's talking to her, he realizes that she might not be as evil as he thinks she is. And he has to decide if he can get on board with her crimes or not. And so they kind of work through that. So that is Sweet. It is the first one. I'm working on the second one. It is already longer than the first one. Trying to get more detailed and more background stories like put out there because you're just kind of thrown quickly into Sweet's world in my book because it's so short. I just wanted to hurry up and get it out of my head so that I can actually start writing because I just thought about it all the time. But the second one is called Bitter, and my kids decided that it should be called that. And I was like, you might be onto something. They have not read the first one though. It's sex, gore, cussing. But the second one is just diving deeper into Sweet's past and how she ended up feeling justified in being a killer, essentially. But yeah, I mean, mine was very short because I only have one book in my series. But I'm starting with the trilogy. I'll see where it goes from there. Like I said, it's taking way longer to write than I thought it would. I thought, I already know the plot. I can just type it out. No, it doesn't work that way. I'm learning that. I'm just trying to get better at writing, being that this is my first true novel that is being published. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, great.
I like sour maybe, but you're right.
Punch up the sex for hot.
Yeah.
And the language for salty.
Oh, I don't know. Flavorful, very flavorful.
Okay, question number 2. I would like to know what drew you to writing mysteries in the first place? E.A. Allen.
For me, that's easy. In the 4th grade, I read The Red-Headed League, and I was off and running. I think by the time I made it to the 5th grade, I had read everything Conan Doyle had written. I don't remember the exact order, but I do remember the second was the Norwood Builder. I took that in my stride. So I've always had an interest and an appetite for mysteries, and I think that having read Victorian, Edwardian English mysteries at such a young age gave me a real taste for writing in the same genre and the same era. It didn't hurt that I went on to become a historian and not only studied but wrote about the history of the era. But there you have it. That's what drew me to mysteries.
Great. Wonderful. Could I ask you when you actually wrote your first mystery?
I was retired, and it was about 12 years ago.
Okay, great.
So I saved it for later in life. I wish I hadn't. I wish I had written mysteries earlier, but I was busy writing all kinds of other stuff. So
Okay. I understand that. So was I.
And it takes a certain level of confidence to get that out there, and I think age helps that. We all wish we had written earlier, I think.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Jane Elsie, how did you happen to start writing mysteries?
So what drew me to mysteries was Nancy Drew, because she was just so cool. She had a sports car. So I think I was weaned on Nancy Drew books. And then, of course, I graduated Agatha Christie. I could never figure it out. And now I can see all of her clues. I could see her planting her clues now. It's such a thrill. I go, I can see a clue. I know who did it now. And then when I was maybe 20 something, no, I don't think, I was maybe 18. We lived in Texas. I don't know, anybody ever here from Texas? God, it's hot in Texas. I lived in a little town called Beeville, Texas. And there were skunks running wild in the road, and there were 2 movie theaters, one indoor, one outdoor, and one played a Spanish movie, and the other one played a cowboy movie, and then they would flop it, so you could be the AC or not, right? And so I was really bored, and I had a bathtub, and it was really cool in the bathtub. So I read 25 Nancy Drew books that I just reread them all, and I thought, I can write this. I can do this. So I really wanted to be the Agatha Christie of the 1990s. And boy, that ship sailed. But I think that I just love this. It's about human nature. It's about puzzling, and I love secrets. And I think that's probably my biggest draw. I love secrets and trying to figure out what kind of secret do you have? And what is it motivating you to do or not do? And I think that is the premise of a mystery. I wrote one in the 80s. It shall never see the light of day. And the first one that I wrote, I started it, I don't even know, 2015 or something like that. I wrote on it for years, and my mentor said, when are you going to publish it? And he said, you know what? You either going to publish it or stop calling yourself an author. And I was really, I was kind of pissed off about that. But he was right. He was right. And so I thought, okay, figure this out. And so that was in 2020. And now it's much easier. I think you gain a little confidence. People respond to your work. They buy it. They repeat it. You know, that kind of stuff. It's pretty fun. But give me a clue and I'll hunt it down.
Okay. Cerinthia?
Well, what I read a lot of like fiction and like based on true stories growing up, and outside of like Goosebumps. But I read a lot of those books, but I watched a lot of mystery on TV. I watched Forensic Files. I'm watching detective shows, always trying to figure out who did it. I also love secrets, a lot of Lifetime movies, which are kind of mysteries. You never know what's going to happen. But that's really what drew me, and I've always been a writer. I just will write anything. Poetry, I like write full books on notebook paper and staple them together when I was little. And so when I decided to write a novel, I'm like, it's just easily, there's gonna be like murder and mystery and death and crime. Like, it's just has to be. That's all I really can think up to write. Someone asked me, would you be interested in a children's book? I'm like, I don't know if I could write a children's book because I like it really, I don't know, crazy and exciting. But I think I might branch out and try another genre maybe, but I just don't want to. I'm like, why? I love mysterious things. But yeah, that's what drew me in, was watching TV and being very interested in the stories and wanted to know, could I do that? Could I capture the story? Could I trick people and they don't know what's gonna happen next? They don't know what the ending's gonna be? And I think I did. A lot of people told me they were surprised. I was like, okay, good. I was nervous. I was like giving too much throughout the book, but I wanted to all make sense. I love a good wrap up at the end where it just all makes sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So I guess we're on to question number 3, which is, do you have a specific inspiration for your series? What about that?
I think if there is, it has to be Sherlock Holmes for me. I don't admit that Montclair is a variation of Holmes. In fact, I very specifically did not want to duplicate the Holmes character, the Holmes personality. Holmes was a gentleman who had a refined sense of justice. Montclair is a relic of the French nobility who doesn't have much sense of justice at all. So they're different in their personalities and such. Also, I was very keen to have a detective who lived in a different location, a different place, and there is that. But still, I always hearken back to my original detective, the first I came in contact with, which was Holmes.
I have a question, sort of a corollary question about that, and that is when I was reading When Beggars Die, it struck me that you were sort of using a format similar to Sherlock Holmes because of the fact that we're seeing things from the point of view of the sidekick, Sir Francis Fitzmaurice, who is always there to observe and tell the story.
Oh, Fitz is definitely a Watson type. And as a writer, I don't tell the story in the first person. I always adopt to tell the story in the words of an observer. And no matter what, I have to have one. And yes, Sir Francis is definitely a Watson type of person.
Yeah.
He's an Englishman of the the officer class, a gentleman of the officer class, who's capable of seeing things in a continental way as well as in an English way. But I didn't mind the obvious similarity, but I wanted it to stop there. Francis has different attitudes and different views from Watson, and he's not really a duplicate.
Right. I think that the way you manage that works really well. I love seeing things from the point of view of Sir Francis Fitzmaurice. I think I'm not sure I know exactly how to explain this, but it's easier to identify with him than it is to identify with Montclair, because Montclair's doing some outrageous things.
Sir Francis is constantly astonished at the attitudes and the behavior of his best friend.
Yeah, right.
Which in some ways is an unlucky situation. But at the same time, he's intrigued by the way Montclair goes about things.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end, he invariably says, well, okay. In one or two instances, however, Montclair simply leaves him out of it until he has no alternative except to know what happened.
Yeah, yeah.
Because things that Montclair can do at the end of a mystery are simply not acceptable to someone like Sir Francis.
Right, right. I have one more question about this guy. I don't know why I got so curious about I guess you would refer to him as the narrator protagonist. Okay. You have an index at the end that explains to us who the historical characters are in the novel in case we don't know, and that was good. And so immediately I looked to see if Sir Francis Fitzmaurice was listed, and he's not in the list, so he's fictional?
Yes.
Okay.
Entirely fictional character. Although there's he has all of the characteristic attitudes of his class. Mm-hmm. He's a perfect example of the
Yeah,
type.
yeah. Okay.
There you have it.
Okay, thank you so much. And Jane Elsey, what do you say about your specific inspiration?
My inspiration. I think, so I love to play games, first of all. I'm very competitive, although I really am quite salty when I play games, too. I don't really care whether I win or not, but I'm going to pretend like I really care. So I had a group of women, 4 women. So I write about mature women because I am a mature woman, and well, that's a subjective term, I guess. But anyway, I am in my years mature. But we played dominoes every week on my patio for probably a year, and it was one of the most joyful evenings at years I've ever had in my life. It was really a wonderful experience. And so these 4 characters really sort of morphed into these 4 characters. And the first book is, I'm not going to say it's autobiographical, but it really comes close in some areas. But I really felt a kinship with these women, and I could easily bring them into my head. And they have since morphed, and they had to morph into entirely different beings because they have to do things that real people won't do. But I think that was really sort of my inspiration is women friendship. They're 4 very unlikely women to be that close, but they are very close. I mean, loyal to the bone close. And I found that I just really began to see how much we crave that. And I don't know if men crave the same thing, women crave the same thing. And like if you don't have that, you really want it. And if you do have it, you really need to cherish it. And I think that really was sort of set the seed of that. And of course, killing a husband was really fun. And so I've been married 4 times. I had lots of room to pick and choose my victims. And I do think that most women at some point in a marriage think, what do I do with the body? I mean, you just really, what do I do to get rid of him, And we're just in a mental exercise in our brain because we're so frustrated with whatever's happening in the marriage. But I think that really is what morphed, that's kind of what became and morphed. But I wanted to say something about what you were talking about is writers have tools. We have tools in our toolbox that we need to be able to tell a story. So another character that rides alongside with your protagonist is necessary writing tool because, first person dialogue is kind of flat. So you have to have somebody writing along to talk about it and give another perspective. And so writers have all kinds of tools that we use to bring the story to you in an enjoyable, entertaining way.
Okay, and question number 3 for Cerinthia.
Well, I had a few things come together to kind of bring the book together. Horror movies kind of inspired the gore. That's where I got my ideas from. But as far as like the plot, I'm divorced. I've been married twice. I know I look young, but I have a lot of life going on. But my divorce attorney hit on me. It was disgusting. And I was thinking kind of like you, what would I do with the body? Yeah. And that kind of inspired the villains of this book is people that are taking advantage of other people in very vulnerable situations. And the way that I formatted the book is inspired by this book I read called Flipped. And it's a first-person point of view, but it's two people, and they're telling the same story, but from their point of view, back and forth. And so one person would explain the scene, the next person would explain the same scene from their point of view. And I thought that was a creative way to make first person not so flat. But I wanted the story to be told in first person. And so I designed the book the same way, where each character, there's 2 main characters, and they're telling the same story back to back, but just from their point of view. And they progress the story through that. And so, yeah, that book really inspired that. And then the show Dexter. I don't know if you've seen Dexter, but he justifies him being a serial killer because he's killing people that quote unquote deserve it. And that's how that's how Sweet in her book justifies her own tendencies and trying to figure out where the line of that is and how she has even the right to decide whether someone deserves something like that or not. But yeah, that's what inspired me, those things.
Okay, I have a follow-up question for you too. I think that the 2 protagonists speaking and your identification of them before each one speaks is good. I think it works well. I was intrigued by the fact that the names are so similar, though.
Yes, they are similar. The males in the book, his name is Evander, and then the girl, her name is Evadne. But she goes by Sweet. Her last name is Dulcet, which is close to dulce, which is sweet in Spanish. And so she just goes by Sweet. But they are very similar. And it kind of is to show that they're not that different, even though one of them seems right and the other one seems wrong. And they judge each other for those things, but they're really similar to each other.
Okay. Great. Well, that's interesting. I was curious about that. Okay, so now we get to some specific questions for individual authors. And my first question is for E.A. Allen. And I guess the thing that I thought would have been rather daunting in writing that book is the fact that he's writing in a place that a lot of readers would not know about very specifically. Perhaps some people would have gone to Paris, but he really gets into Paris deeply. You learn a lot about Paris, and also the fact that he's writing at the beginning of the 1900s. And so I guess the question then, it seems especially important in your work, the whole element of place, and how did you manage that? Did you do a lot of research or go there, or what did you do?
I was born and raised at Fort Smith. And I started school because my high school record was so lousy and no college would probably accept me. I started college at the community college in Fort Smith. And I finished at the Sorbonne in Paris. It was quite a trip. But in going to Paris ultimately and living there and studying there and doing everything that one does in Paris, I really took to the place. Oddly enough, it's different from Fort Smith. The, uh, the, the problem with Paris is that it gets into your system and doesn't get out. Hemingway had something interesting to say about it. He said, if you're lucky enough to have lived in Paris as a young man, Paris will always be with you because it's a movable feast. And that's right, pretty much. So it was, and then as a government servant, a federal worker, I worked in Paris and I worked in France quite a lot. And that was sort of my venue. So Paris and France seem to have sort of followed me all the way to my mystery writing. And when it came time to think about place, and you have to, you know, there are two things that are most important, I think. First of all, you have to put your mystery in a place that you know. It's hard not to. I mean, it's hard to do it otherwise. So choose a venue that's comfortable for you, and then choose one that your reader's going to find interesting. And when I focused on those two problems, I couldn't think of anything more interesting than to locate my mysteries in Paris. Montclair is a Parisian mainly, and he deals with problems in Paris. Luckily for him, the French judicial system is and take it from me, I spent a year in a French law school. It's focused in Paris, and so you can't do much otherwise. So it was a kind of unnatural for me after all, and for him. My Percy St. John series, Young Mysteries, teen mysteries, begins with a story that is located in an Alpine monastery in Switzerland, a Benedictine monastery, to be specific. What does that have to do with me? Well, as a kid, I happened to spend an awful lot of time in a Benedictine monastery. I don't know why specifically, but I don't know if any of you are familiar with the monastery at Subiaco, Arkansas. It's Benedictine, and as a Catholic school lad and high schooler, I spent an extraordinary amount of time there. It helped that my grandfather was the village doctor and was mainly in charge also of taking care of the monks at the monastery. And so Subiaco is a part of my personality. And when it came time to find a locale for my first Percy St. John mystery, oddly enough, a Benedictine monastery wasn't so exotic to me after all. And I think it makes for a fairly interesting venue in itself. Percy happens to be a kind of young criminal type who is sent there to reform. And so it explains why Percy finds himself there. But there you have it.
Okay.
Odd as venues might be, they are part of what I experienced growing up.
Very good, very good. Thank you. Okay, the specific question for Jane then. One thing that I really loved about Dying for Dominoes was that she was so effective in managing these 4 characters who are pretty much there for a good part of the book. And I thought, oh, you know, this is a challenge for a writer to make 4 characters so distinctive that the readers are going to sort of follow along, not just by the dialogue props, but also by the way of speaking, the stories, and all of that. So how did you get into that, and what were your challenges with that?
So, you know, I recognized that early on, and they have to be very 4 distinct voices. I made them they each have their own thing, so it was easier in my head. But I used tools, so I created a scrapbook for the characters, and I can't draw with a bean, so I cut out pictures and paste them on the paper like a 3-year-old. But that's fun, you know. And so I made scrapbooks for each one of them, and I had pictures of their childhood and their, you know, what they do, what their houses look like, and what kind of a car they drove, and what their cat looked like. And so I really could see visually in my head what each one was. And as I did that, I don't think that I knew exactly until I started cutting out pictures. You know, I was like, oh, well, this is good. This is a good car. And so, you know, that's a nice canoe. You know, so I think that they began to materialize as they became more picturesque in my head. But they each have a very distinctive way of speaking, and they each have a very specific way. They each have an interest. Like in a dialogue, they're going to dogpile on one thing or another. They're not all going to dogpile on one thing. They're going to have one thing that's of interest to them. One or two things, and so that was easier. That was easy to manage, you know. But I will say that they wake me up at night, especially Jenna. Jenna will wake me up. Get up, she says, and I say, no, I'm sleepy. I will remember in the morning. She say, you will not get up, and I actually hear that in my head. I think I'm going nuts, but she does have something to say, and it is unique, and it's not me, it's her. And so I get up and I write it down. I can't read it in the morning, but I have appeased her by getting I'm writing it down. And I find that really does happen as I don't know where we go when we write. I don't know, do y'all experience that too? It's like we go somewhere. I don't know where it is. And sometimes I'll read something back to myself and I think, well, who wrote this? You know, it's like, I don't remember this in any way. And I think that these characters are very much alive in me. So after 5 books, after writing, I don't know what 5 times 80,000 is, it's a lot of words. And my books are probably 90% dialogue. So I just really hear them, and I hear what they're going to talk about and what they say. So it's not as hard as you would think it might be. If you didn't have a real grasp on your character, it would be much harder, I think. And I think you have to get that grasp. You have to learn who is this person, and you know, why are they going to open their mouth, and what is the story they're going to tell when they do.
My follow-up question is, I immediately identified with Amy. I liked her. I felt like she was most like me. What about your other readers? What kind of feedback do you get as far as people having a favorite character? Does that tend to happen?
It does happen. I've even gotten emails that say, I'm having a cocktail party, can the girls come? It's like, what? I can come. I'm not as much fun, but I can come. And so people, you know, that's a very common question for people to ask the author, and they say, well, who's your favorite? It's like saying, which is your favorite kid? I am very analytical, like Amy, and also kind of, you know, Amy's just trying to hold the 4 of them together without anybody drawing blood. So, you know, I'm kind of like that too. Jenna's a bitch. Sorry, that's cozy. That's not cozy. And she deserves to be, because she's, you know, she's an Arkansas aristocrat. Ryan is a tomboy who grows dope for a living. So, you know, she had her own little own way of speaking. So, and then Zelda loves shoes and men, I think, because she's been married 4 times. So that's no coincidence, I would guess. So there's parts of me in all of that, you know.
Yeah.
And people are drawn to one or the other. They're most drawn to Amy. They're most drawn to Ryan. And then people, you know, they might admit that they're drawn to Zelda. No one has yet said, I'm Jenna. Which I think is okay, because Jenna's unto herself, you know. But it's fun having characters. They're not real. They're just not real anywhere but on the page and in my head, maybe. And so it's really fun having readers really drawn to their personalities.
Okay, and just one more quick one. You said that these women were inspired from this actual group of friends that you played dominoes with for, what, you said a year, I
For a
believe.
year. Mhm.
Yeah. Do any of those women ever see themselves in these characters?
I do not ask them that.
Oh, okay.
It is none of their business.
So no one has approached you yet and said, "Is that me?"
No, I don't. One of the women said, if you write a character, she has to be named Zelda, and I said, okay, that's a great name. So her name is Zelda, but I don't think she wants to believe she's that. They're so morphed from the real people that they couldn't really see themselves in
Yeah.
there.
Okay.
You know, we're all getting older, so people are come and gone and moved away and moved away and moved away. So.
Okay, Cerinthia, I have a question for you. Since you are the newest one of the group, I thought I would ask you about something that is just so much out there in the literary world. I guess it is the biggest question. It's almost as if the writing process has taken back seat to the publishing and the marketing and all of that. I'm seeing that a lot online, that people are asking those sorts of questions. So what can you tell us, especially what have you learned that you'd like to pass on to other writers who are getting a start?
Well, I did self-publish because I was looking into what it would take to get a book published, and it is a lot, and a lot of it's out of your control, and a lot of it's agreeing to let it continue to be that way. And it reminded me a lot of the music industry. Like, there's like just 3 main groups that kind of trickle down to these smaller groups, and you're trying to get into them in these smaller groups, and they're like, be okay with all your things being changed. And it's like, I want to be open to that, but I just can't. It's my baby. And so I was like, well, if I do self-publish, I need to figure out how. And a lot of people have asked me since I've done it how I did it, because it's a lot of steps, and there's not a lot of information out there on just this is how you do it. I need to be the one to actually put it out there probably. But I just spent a lot of time watching videos after videos after videos, finding different information, just learning about stuff I didn't know, like ISBN numbers. Like I came out the gate knowing nothing about publishing at all. So I was really in the throes of learning how to publish a book. Canva, thankfully, is around, so I was able to design my own covers. I had to ask my friends to edit it for me, which, if you read the book, you'll be like, they did not do a good job. But this time around, I have other people. So getting all of that done. But even once I got it together and I got it, you can do it basically for free. But I went the route where I paid for my ISBN numbers. But the marketing part is probably the hardest part. A lot of people have authors that they like, and they don't want to branch out. They will, but if they're readers, they have like books that they're reading and that they're gonna read, and trying to stay on trend of what's actually like popular right now so that they can talk about it. But anyone who's read my book, I'm really thankful. But I've had to really do a lot on social media. Social media is like king right now for putting yourself out there. And even like I've posted, I can't even tell you how many times about my book. I'm like, this is my book. This is my book. I'm doing this. I have a book. And then somebody like, you have a book? I'm like, yes. I've had books published for the past 5 years. And they're like, I did not know that. So it's still always reminding myself, like, everybody doesn't know that you wrote a book, no matter how many times you say it. It's like you're always on display and like always selling yourself. Like, I wrote the book, get my book, buy my book. It's like I'm not, and it's not even for the money, honestly, because I'm like, if I became like a really famous author and I sold a lot of books, I would love that. But really, I just want people to read my books. I want to have people to talk about it with and just like be excited for the next book. And I just want to have like a community that I share my work with and that appreciate it more than anything. So yeah, the challenge is just being consistent. I would say though, just if someone wanted to do it, and just keep trying and be okay with not always selling a bunch or selling 200 over 3 years or whatever it ends up being. It's like, it's a very vulnerable place to be, to put your work out there, put your mind out there, your thoughts. Are people gonna think I'm crazy for what I wrote in this book? Are people gonna think that's me and that I did these things, or that so I know someone? Is people gonna ask me like, is this me? And it might be, but yeah, just getting over the nerves of being seen and thinking that people are gonna judge you for your book, and being okay with it not being perfect, but know that you can continue to get better.
Right. I think one of the things about starting out, can you hear? Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm moving around too much. I think one of the things that's difficult about starting to write is it's very difficult to know everything you really need to know from the beginning. Because writing is definitely a process, and you will know about things when you get to book 2 you didn't know about with 1. By the time you get to 8, you are thinking, oh my Lord, all of those things that I could have done in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 that I did not do. So yeah. Yeah. But I have heard very famous writers saying, I didn't really write anything good until I'd been writing for 13 years, so it is a very long process. It's a difficult process. So starting out with 1, yeah, you will learn so much by the time you have finished your 2nd and 3rd and 4th. Okay, now, according to my watch, it's 2:57. We were thinking about 1 hour for the panel and then Q&A, but I think we can go ahead now. I would love to get to your questions. Is that okay? Okay, do you want to move around and give people?
Yeah, I don't have another microphone, so if you wouldn't mind to repeat the question into the microphone, that would be really helpful.
Okay, or if you just want to take mine, that's fine.
I'll take yours.
I'm not going to damage this by trying to dismantle it.
Who has a question?
I actually don't need the microphone.
Can you speak into it for the recording, please?
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Okay. Everybody's talking about mystery basically centered on murder. We're killing off a lot of husbands. Sooner or later, what happens? What happens when you run out of husbands? If you were going to write a mystery, and like Sherlock Holmes stories, it isn't always a dead body. Sometimes it's a bank robbery or a missing jewel. What would you choose as the thing, the crime, the puzzle? If it wasn't murder, where would you go?
Who are you asking? Who are you asking?
All of you.
I know exactly how I would answer that one. I would love to be a cat burglar or a bank thief, bank robber. I think that would be so exciting. I'm not gonna. I'm joking, but I think writing. You as a writer, you live where your head lives, right? And so, if you want to write about being a cat burglar, write about being a cat burglar. I think that would be fascinating to be. And what happens when the cat burglar gets old and can't do the shimmy through the lights anymore? So I just think that would be fascinating to do cat burglar, bank robbery. I mean, that's It's complicated, like Ocean's 11 stuff. That's really complicated, but I have to say I'm intrigued by it. It would have to happen during Halloween because he would be in costume. I know it, but now they have all that blue money, and so they trigger. It's in the money before you even know it, and then it blows up, and then you have blue money. I know because I got some from my fudgesicle popsicle truck, one time. It's like, what are you doing with blue money? Yeah, that's what I would do. Yeah. You want to join me?
I can be the sidekick. Who stays on the ground?
On the ground. You can be the calm guy, the calm guy.
In the first place, there's a sort of a standard, and that is there's nothing as mean as murder. So if you really want a villain who is truly villainous, there's nothing like a dead body that says you're mean. Okay, so there is that. I write murder mysteries. However, I thought of writing all kinds. I wrote a story, a short mystery, some years ago called "A Death at the Beer Soup Club," and doing that and learning a little bit about the culinary society, I thought about writing a mystery where a jealous chef poisons the clients of another chef to get even with him for some reason or another and to ruin his career. There's nothing to ruin your career as a French chef than all of your patrons turning up sick. So there is that. You know, you can contrive some really mean things to happen, but at the essence of every mystery, there's got to be something really mean that happens. I admire you cozy writers because you can't have any dead bodies really to speak of, you know. Well, you can have sex, but you can't talk about that either. So
You know, they could, you know, you can't curse either. The bad guy gets to drop the F-bomb.
So there are restraints that are imposed by the genre that you're in. Luckily, mine has no restraints, so my villains can be just as villainous as they want to be.
I would say that my other favorite type of mysteries is where someone is blamed for the crime that's committed and they have to solve the mystery themselves so that they're not the blame. So whatever the crime is, that would probably be the way I go, where someone's trying to solve it to prove their innocence. That's where I would go.
How about a casino heist?
That sounds even
That's been done. That's been done. You know what? I think what's worse than just killing somebody. I am really not an evil person. I just have an active imagination. When they hold them captive, like underground or in a cabin in the woods, and they kidnap, and I think that would be horrendous. I think I might rather die than be in that situation. Don't get any ideas.
Sweet does both. She holds them captive, and then
God, that girl.
she has a lot going on.
Get her some drugs.
There's that too.
Okay. This one's for E.A. Allen. I was really surprised when you said that the magazines that would publish detective or mystery stories were no longer around. Does that mean something like Ellery Queen or some of those magazines like that or periodicals?
To tell you the truth, I've given up looking at them. The last I looked, they were going out of business.
Okay, wow.
And if there's one genre that has, one vehicle that's probably been replaced very nicely by e-books, it is that. They're very expensive to produce, whereas Amazon can undercut price very easily. And so if they're not already gone, they are going.
Wow.
At least that
okay.
was the ground truth when I was trying to publish short mysteries in magazines. On the other hand, my short mysteries were too long to suit a magazine like Ellery Queen. I was writing mysteries that are about the length of a Sherlock Holmes story. And no magazines wanted anything of those dimensions.
Okay.
Half the size, half the words were what they were looking for. So they were looking for really short shorts when you come right down to it. I don't know what the dimensions are now, but there it is.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to add something to that. I think that it's also become an arena for prize money and awards, and I don't even know what the word is there, but so a lot of that, you submit your short stories to be considered in anthologies. The winners are, added to anthologies. I think it's moved in that. I just don't think there's any money in it, like you said, and also magazines are very, very expensive to.
I can tell you, I have spent a lot of time publishing long shorts in the Kindle format, and they're all over the the Kindle, KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing. But one thing that I'm probably going to do is bundle them all up, take them off of Amazon, give them to my publisher, and let him do something he's been wanting to do for a while, and that is try to sell them to Netflix. Disney, Netflix, and the others are starved for content. And they very often choose content that's just awful. Musk is bludgeoning Netflix right now for content that they chose that was terrible. I won't go into it, but there you have it. My publisher took a look at the things that I have on Kindle now and said, well, I can't have anything to do with it because you're on Kindle and there it is. That's KDP, and I don't even want to. But I know what he has in mind. So I'm thinking about simply retreating from Kindle in a little bit to sell them as content.
So you are allowed to take those off?
Oh, yeah, you can publish and unpublish at will on KDP. They do have a period of time that they have to look over what you're doing to make sure that it qualifies in a certain way for their content. But there it is.
You own your content. You own your content. You own your story,
Well,
unless you sold it to a publisher.
and they pay royalties. And in fact, Kindle pays better royalties than publishers.
Yes, they do.
Depending on your price, about 30%. So there it is. They make it a good deal. Surprise, surprise, Amazon is making a good deal.
Who else has a question?
Time. Sarinthia, you mentioned that you do a lot of social media. What sorts of things are you doing to promote the book? Is this just among friends, or are you like doing book talk or
I do post on Book Talk. I post, so I made kind of like little profiles for each character, and then I'll post about them and make it kind of interesting. At least I try. The book has cocktail recipes in it, and a lot of my entire brand is that I make drinks. They call me the Dirty Barista. And so I will make the drinks from the book to put the book out there, I wrote this book, this is a recipe from the book. Just posting it, literally just posting it and trying to make it as mysterious as possible. What is going on in this small town in Arkansas? Why are men disappearing? It's really just a lot of that. And I'm also in a book club, and I also have messaged a bunch of people that do book reviews on their social media pages and sending them copies of the book. Just constantly trying to put it in different places, do book signings and readings and taking it to local shops, reaching out to a lot of other small town local shops in different states. And hey, I have this book, you're a small shop and I know you support, I do a lot of that. It's a lot of cold calling and posting. And I feel like I should be posting about it every single day. But then you get to a point people don't know yet that I have a book. How many times do I have to say it? But a lot is how many times you have to say it, forever and ever. I'll be 150 and someone's you have a book? So that's what it is. It's a lot of that. Thankfully, I've had things do well on my social media page. It's hard to get a good social media page going. Some people get lucky and they get a viral video the first couple of times that they post something, and then their page blows up, and then their books are really popular, and now they're getting a movie and all of this. But it just takes a while to build that up. And I've been very intentional about building it up. And I find that a lot of artists, just in general, creatives, have a hard time keeping up with their social media because you're creating. How am I going to keep up with that? I have other stuff I'm actually doing in real life, but it's just a part of the marketing because I'm self-published. So I have to. Nobody else is going to do it for me.
I guess there's a generational issue too. For you, something like Book Talk is doable.
Yeah.
For some of us, looking at something like that is like, you're kidding.
Yeah.
So, or I can look at my circle of friends on social media and say, well, we're all my age. We're not doing this or this or this necessarily.
Yeah.
So I wonder sometimes about the marketing. It's like I keep talking to younger writers. Like, how does this work?
Yeah.
Explain it to me like I'm 102.
Can I respond? Can I respond to you too? So I have a degree in marketing, so I sort of have a sort of a feel of that. I worked in publishing for a long time, and my role was marketing. But
You came from the dark side.
I came from the dark side, and I even go, God Almighty, it's like, why do you not know who I am? I've been doing this but one of the best ways social media is to use Facebook, but you have to buy time on it, and so you can't. You have to be you have to do it right. You have to test your messaging and all that. But once you have identified your audience, my audience is not a book talker. They are not that young. So mine are over 50. And so then you start running, running ads in your target market with a targeted message, and you would be surprised how much you gain from that. But if you don't do a good job of targeting your message and targeting your audience, you can spend a whole lot of money and put it in Zuckerberg's pocket. But and so I actually took a course, a digital marketing asset testing course, which cost me a bundle. But I really felt at the end of that really confident how to test a good headline, a good body copy, all of those pieces, a good image, all of that is very effective in reaching out. Because you can just drive yourself crazy social mediaing yourself to death. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's like how many. Yeah, and they say, it's 80-20 rule. 80% of any message that you put out there is about your reader, not you. 20% is about you. And yet we are so upfront with who we are and what we're doing by my book. And so you just have to really change that point of view to do that. Yeah.
And I have paid for ads too on Facebook, on Instagram, pushing it out there, watching the statistics, seeing who's looking, seeing how long they watched it. It's a lot of reading analytics.
And in the end game, did they buy the book?
Yeah, like
did they
has
go
this
to
translated
Amazon
to a
and buy the
sale?
book? Yeah, that's where you run them to. Run them to that, and you track all of that, and you can see what you're doing. So it's a big business, and everybody else is making money except for us. I mean, you don't make much money on a book anyway. So I think on a hardcover that comes from Ingram, I think I make $1.12 by the time I finally, $1.72, something like that. By the time a bookstore, because
$30 book.
the bookstores get a 55% discount, and you're paying, you have to pay, so I think it's $1.74 or something like that. It's like, okay, well, whatever.
ADP is better for that.
Well, I guess I am going to have a microphone now. We only have 2 minutes left. Does anybody have a burning question? Burning question out there? Okay, I have a burning question. The last question I had, number 12, was, what is your favorite thing about being an author? If we could just have like a 30-second answer from each person, and this time we'll start with Rand.
I will say that my favorite thing, and you mentioned it and you agreed, is when you're writing, you go to another place. Like, I will come out of writing, it's like I'm coming out of, like, from up underwater. And I like feeling like I've created another world that I can live and function in and invite other people into. And I think about going to it all the time. Like, as we were here and y'all were talking, I was like, oh yeah, I could add this to my book, and then I can. It's like I'm just always eager and anxious to like get back into the world that I created for this book. And that's probably like my favorite thing.
Great. Okay,
Yeah.
Jane Elsey.
Well, I'm going to say that there's a difference between being an author and a difference between being a writer. So what you're talking about is about being a writer. So the writer, it is an incredibly joyful and painful birthing process, writing, but we do go somewhere very joyful when we're writing. Authoring is a whole nother cupcake. cupcake. So my favorite thing about being an author is that I actually am forced to share my inner thinking with the world at large. Well, a small piece of it, because I'm certainly not large, but my calling is large. A couple thousand, but so that would be the difference, to me. I love sharing stories with other people, and on their terms. You pick it up, you read it at your leisure, you put it down, you pick it back up, you finish it, you don't finish it, you buy the next one. You don't, whatever. That's a really fun exchange, and that differs from writerhood.
Okay.
I can say yes and yes to both of those. They've basically said it all. I have to say that the author part, I have something to add, and that is making a success of the adventure. It's not easy, by golly. In fact, it's really hard. But authoring is in fact growing a bit of a business. And I don't shrink from or dislike the business aspects of the thing. When I first started, I thought, okay, I've found a publisher, and this is the beginning. But I don't mind in every step of the process growing it toward something else, or growing it towards something bigger and better. This is not going to be a big business that I'm growing here, but I do like that aspect of it. And there are things along the way that are really stimulating and satisfying that come from that. I never dreamed that my books would be for sale at Shakespeare and Company in Paris, and they are. Okay? I never dreamed that Simon & Schuster would be my publisher and my distributor and marketer. Now, January 1st, they will be. So it is a process of growing something that's almost like a business. And I like that aspect of it too. It's part of the challenge.
Okay. So that wraps it up. Thank you so much for coming here today and sharing your thoughts.
Thank you for coming. It's always nice when the panel outnumbers the audience. If you get to be a problem, we can handle you.
There's also going to be, we have an opportunity, 3 of us are going to be selling our books in the back. So if anybody wants to go back there, we have our books. I also brought some sheets, and I would love for people to pick up a sheet about information about books and things like that. So please join us at the back.
Thank you, Leah.